every single person in this room and on this stage, you have given us the most precious gift of all, hope.
So I'm in Spain at the moment, and it's quite a momentous time for Spain because a really important election is about to take place. But the election that's about to take place arguably has really big implications across Europe as well. I'm actually in northern Spain at the moment, in, I can't say it properly, Asturias, the capital is Oviedo, and I'm travelling all over the place. And I've actually been asked here to do talks to support a anti-austerity party called Podemos. Always important to be transparent, my biases, where I'm coming from. But I'm going to put my analytical hat on. I want to explain what's going on. I'm going to do a big proper video about this, showing all the stuff that I'm doing, the people I'm meeting, the rallies I'm part of. Spain was really hit hard by the financial catastrophe that enveloped much of the Western world after 2008. And that's had a big impact on politics, as you'd expect. And Spain, since the death of the dictator General Franco in 1975, has been dominated by two parties. The People's Party, which was founded by a former minister in Franco's old regime, and that's the Conservative Party here in Spain. And then PSOE, which is the Spanish equivalent of the Labour Party. That two-party system is now collapsing. And it's collapsing because of partly a grassroots revolt against that political elite. And what happened in 2011 was a movement called the Indignados. Now, what the Indignados represented was a frustration and anger at the political elite who they didn't think represented them. At the time, PSOE, the equivalent of the Labour Party, were in power. You know, in that election, the People's Party won, but partly because of a collapse in support for PSOE rather than any surge in support for the People's Party. And ever since then, Spain has been embroiled in a disastrous situation. It's incredible. Over half of its young people are out of work, where you've had huge hits to living standards, where you've had this wave of evictions, mass evictions from homes. You've had big cuts to public services. You've had privatisation, the flogging off of public assets. Last year, Podemos, which is Spanish for we can, it was led by a university professor called Pablo Iglesias. And Podemos were trying to give a political voice to the social movements that had arisen. And they allied with a lot of other social movements all over Spain, and they had this absolutely seismic rise. In the European elections, they had a breakthrough, they had a number of members of the European Parliament elected. But then they had this surge, this huge revolt against both the Popular Party and PSOE. But then things get a bit complicated, because a number of things happened. One, Greece. Syriza swept to power in January with a mandate to challenge austerity in the catastrophic policies that had been imposed on the people of Greece. And Podemos strongly allied with Syriza. They're making common cause to change Europe and all the rest of it. Now, unfortunately, the hopes of people like Podemos, like myself, that Syriza would inspire others to follow in their example, was our hope, but the fear of many of the people who run Europe. And the president of the European Council, a guy called Donald Tusk, said that the fear wasn't financial contagion from Greece, but political contagion. And one of the main countries they had in mind was Spain. Lots of people who were supporting Podemos looked at what happened to Greece and went, see what happened there. And that was exactly, of course, what the people who punished Syriza wanted to happen. Number two, Catalonia. Now, there's a big movement for Catalan independence. And outside of Catalonia, people in Spain are often not supportive of Catalan independence at all. Now, Podemos don't support Catalan independence, but they support the right to a referendum in Catalonia. But even that is something which, in the same way David Cameron and the Conservatives whipped up resentment about Scotland, the same thing has been used to damage Podemos. Number three, the rise of a party called, in English, the Citizens Party. At the beginning of this year, they won about 3% in the opinion polls. And what happened, the Citizens were based in Catalonia, and they were opposed to Catalan independence. Now, they position themselves as a centrist party. They have libertarian policies on decriminalising prostitution, drugs, but also, on economic policies on the right, And they have called for things like banning the burqa, and they've made statements on domestic violence and abortion, which are not in any way supporting the cause of feminism. So they're again, this new party, but the thing about this party is they're young and they're fresh, their leaders are young and fresh, they've got this huge media support, and they've managed to pull away some of the kind of anti-establishment feeling that Podemos were tapping into. Number 4, inevitably, when an economy goes like this, eventually, whatever happens, the economy will start to grow again. Now, there's been ruinous economic policies which have devastated much of Spain, but the economy began to grow again. Now, that recovery hasn't been felt by millions of Spaniards, but it still obviously inevitably boots the incumbent party. All of these factors, and also a huge media onslaught against Podemos, meant Podemos, which was leading the opinion polls, had a dramatic slump. In the past few weeks, but particularly in the last few days actually, as the campaign really came underway, Podemos have staged something of a comeback. They call it the remontada. Some polls actually have them as number 2, the second most popular party after the People's Party. The Citizens, which actually have gone dramatically up, and in some polls they were second. They've been steadily going down. So it's very unpredictable. That's some of the background. I just wanted to do a kind of little mini briefing before the main video. Do catch that after the results come in on Sunday. Keep your comments coming. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.